Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep into a topic that we've gotten a lot of questions about um, Asian eyelid surgery.
Yeah, it certainly generated some buzz.
It has, and we've got a really fascinating mix of sources for this deep dive. We've got some academic articles, we've got some articles from beauty and fashion magazines and websites.
Even a few personal
Yeah,
stories.
exactly. So we're going to try to understand, the history, the techniques, the cultural influences, all of that, and then of course how the trends are evolving.
It's a really interesting procedure to look into.
Yeah, it is. And, I was really surprised to learn that the first double eyelid procedure wasn't actually performed in the West. It was in Japan in 1896.
Yeah, 1896 by a surgeon named Mikamo. And get this, he argued that he was trying to create a uniquely Japanese aesthetic.
Not trying to westernize the eyes.
Yeah,
Not at all.
that's so interesting.
It really is. It kind of flips the script on how we often think about this procedure.
For sure. So before we go any further, I think it's important to kind of clarify what we're actually talking about because the term double eyelid surgery can be a little misleading.
Yeah, it's not about creating a whole new eyelid.
Right.
It's really about creating or enhancing a crease. That's called the superior palpebral fold, which many people of Asian descent don't naturally have.
And that fold can really change the appearance of the eye.
It does.
We've got some pretty detailed descriptions in the sources about the anatomy of the Asian eyelid.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a lot about proportions and how those proportions impact how the eye is perceived.
Right. So tell me about that. What are some of those characteristics that we're talking about here?
Well, some common features include a narrower space between the eyelids. That's called the palpebral fissure.
Okay.
And sometimes the absence of that crease we were talking about, the superior palpebral fold.
Got it.
And the eyelashes often point downwards too.
I see.
Now, it's important to note that these are all perfectly natural features, but they can sometimes contribute to an impression of tiredness or anger, which is why some people might consider surgery.
So it's not necessarily about trying to look less Asian.
Right.
It's more about maybe adjusting some features that could lead to unintended perceptions?
Yeah, precisely. It often comes down to how these features make individuals feel.
Hmm.
And if a procedure can help them feel more confident and comfortable in their appearance, well, that's a personal choice.
Right. It's about how you feel. So it seems like there are a variety of surgical techniques out there
Oh, yeah,
to achieve different results.
absolutely. And it's helpful to think about it in terms of what each technique is trying to change about the eye's appearance.
Yeah.
So, for instance, some people want to address a drooping eyelid. That's called watosis.
Okay.
And this can make the eyes look more open and alert. That's where upper eyelid lengthening comes in.
Got it. And then there's that trend in South Korea, I've read about it,
Oh, yeah.
where people actually want a little fullness below the eye.
Yes. The edgiosal.
Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Which is considered youthful and cute. So that's a totally different goal
Completely different.
than correcting epitosis.
Exactly. And then you've got some techniques that focus on the inner corner of the eye,
Okay.
reducing or reshaping that epicanthal fold.
Mm-hmm.
That little fold of skin that can sometimes make the eyes appear closer together.
Right.
Other techniques might extend the outer corner to create wider-looking eyes. It's really fascinating how specific these procedures can be.
So it's like a whole menu of options depending on what someone wants to enhance.
It is.
It's not just a one-size-fits-all double eyelid surgery.
Not at all.
Right. And this brings us to, I think, a really interesting point, the cultural influences
Yes.
that are shaping these trends and preferences.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about K-beauty. For instance, K-beauty has been so incredibly influential, I think, in setting global beauty standards these days.
Oh, for sure. I mean, K-beauty really emphasizes that flawless, youthful, natural look.
Yes. And what I find really interesting about K-beauty is that it seems to value natural-looking enhancement. It's not about making these drastic changes. It's subtle.
You see this in the eyelid surgery trends coming out of Korea.
Mhm.
It's less about a dramatic transformation and more about refining what's already there.
So achieving a look that's enhanced but still natural.
Exactly. It's like they've mastered this art of refining the natural features without looking overdone.
Right.
And this approach is becoming increasingly popular worldwide.
Mm.
People are looking for ways to enhance their appearance, but in a way that's subtle and harmonious.
Right. And it's so interesting how that contrasts with, say, Hollywood,
Yes.
where there might be more of a focus on that glamorous, wide-awake look.
It's almost like a contrasting philosophy.
Yeah.
K-beauty is about those subtle, almost undetectable refinements, whereas Hollywood sometimes leans towards a more noticeable transformation.
Yeah.
It's intriguing to see how these different ideals kind of play out in cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, and it makes you think about how beauty standards can vary so much from culture to culture
Oh, accurate.
and how those ideals can influence people's decisions.
Yeah.
I was reading in some of these sources about how in some Asian cultures, the pressure to conform to certain beauty standards, especially when it comes to double eyelids,
Hmm.
can be really, really intense.
Yeah, it's true. In fact, we even came across a couple of sources that talked about how in some parts of Asia, parents actually offer double eyelid surgery to their kids as a reward,
Wow.
like for good grades or even as a graduation gift.
As a graduation gift. Wow.
It's kind of wild.
I mean, I can see how in some families that might be seen as like a sign of support, you know,
Right.
or even a cultural norm.
Mm-hmm.
But it also raises some interesting questions about the pressures that young people are facing.
It does. It's a really complex issue, and it speaks to how deeply ingrained these beauty standards can be in some societies.
Absolutely. And of course, it's not just parents,
Yeah,
right?
of course not.
Celebrity culture plays a huge role in all of this, too.
Huge. Especially in a world that's so dominated by social media.
Right. We were reading about how some K-pop stars, for example, have been really open about getting double eyelid surgery.
Mhm.
And that can definitely influence their fans.
Especially the younger ones.
Right, exactly. So it's understandable that people, especially younger people, look up to these celebrities and want to emulate their looks. But I think it's important to remember that everyone is unique and beautiful in their own way.
Exactly. And while societal pressures and celebrity influence are definitely there, we also have to acknowledge that not everyone who chooses to have this surgery is doing it because they feel pressure to conform.
Right. You're right.
There are lots of different reasons why someone might choose to have this procedure. Some people want to address functional concerns like a drooping eyelid
Right.
that might be impairing their vision,
Right.
while others are just looking to enhance their natural features
Right.
without necessarily trying to look Western.
Mm-hmm. And some of those personal anecdotes in these sources were really powerful, I think. Just hearing people's own stories about why they chose to have the surgery, it's so individual, it's so personal. It's really about feeling comfortable and confident in your own skin.
Right. And if this procedure helps someone achieve that, then who are we to judge?
Exactly. Going through all of these sources, one thing that really struck me was just the artistry involved
Oh, yeah.
in Asian eyelid surgery.
It's amazing. It's not a simple procedure.
Not at all. It requires a lot of skill and precision.
So much precision.
I mean, it's not just about cutting and stitching. It's about understanding facial anatomy, aesthetics,
Yeah.
creating a result that looks natural and harmonious.
It really is like sculpting.
It is.
The surgeon is essentially sculpting the eyelids to create a more pleasing appearance.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate procedure. And, the best surgeons out there really take a personalized approach.
They do. And it seems like with all the advancements in techniques and technology, there are more options available now than ever before.
Absolutely. We were even reading about the increasing popularity of non-surgical options, like brow lifts and fillers. This is huge in K-beauty right now.
It is. People are looking for ways to enhance their features without having to go under the knife.
Right. And these non-surgical options are a great alternative for people who aren't ready for surgery or maybe just prefer a more subtle approach.
Yeah. And they tend to have shorter recovery times and fewer risks.
Exactly. Which is really appealing to a lot of people.
It is. And it's cool to see how these non-surgical trends are kind of blending with the surgical techniques. It's like a whole spectrum of possibilities now.
It is. It's about finding the right approach for each person
Yeah,
based on their goals, their anatomy, and their comfort level.
absolutely. And of course, with any cosmetic procedure, safety should always be the top priority.
Always. Couldn't agree more. It's so important to do your research. Choose a qualified and experienced surgeon and just make sure you feel completely comfortable and informed.
Right. Like throughout the entire process.
From start to finish.
It's your body. It's your face. You deserve to feel safe and confident in the hands of your surgeon. So don't be afraid to ask questions.
Please ask questions.
Seek multiple opinions. Really advocate for yourself.
Yes. Be an active participant in your own care.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. History techniques, cultural influences, evolving trends, the importance of safety.
That's a lot.
It is. Where do you see all of this heading in the future? What's the next chapter in this story?
Well, one of the most exciting things I'm seeing is this growing cultural exchange that's happening in the world of cosmetic surgery. We're seeing a real blurring of the lines between Eastern and Western beauty ideals.
So it's not just about, like, Western patients adopting Asian beauty practices or vice versa.
Right. It's more like a fusion.
It's a fusion.
Yeah. Like, for example, Western patients are becoming more interested in K-beauty's emphasis on skincare and those natural-looking enhancements we were talking about.
Right.
And at the same time, some Eastern markets are kind of embracing the more glamorous, transformative approaches that have been popular in Hollywood.
It's like a global melting pot of beauty trends.
It really is. It's fascinating.
Do you think this exchange is going to lead to, like, new innovations and techniques in Asian eyelid surgery?
Oh, I think so, for sure. As these different cultural perspectives converge, I think we're going to see even more creative and personalized approaches emerging.
That's exciting.
And technology is always evolving.
Right.
So I think the future of this field is incredibly dynamic.
I agree. It's all about empowering individuals to achieve the look they desire while also respecting their unique features and their cultural background.
It is.
It's a celebration of diversity. It's a rejection of this idea that there's only one way to be beautiful.
Well said. It's about recognizing that beauty is multifaceted.
Yes.
It's constantly evolving. It's constantly being redefined.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive for me. We've learned so much about the history, the nuances, the future of Asian eyelid surgery.
Me too.
But before we wrap up,
Hmm.
there's one more crucial aspect I think we need to address.
What's that?
Ethics.
Absolutely. Ethics should always be at the forefront of any discussion about cosmetic surgery.
Always. I mean, it's about ensuring that patients are fully informed about the risks and benefits of any procedure,
Yes.
that their consent is truly voluntary,
Mm-hmm.
and that their well-being is always the top priority.
It's also about treating patients with respect, dignity, and compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recognizing that this is a deeply personal decision.
And remembering that cosmetic surgery is not a magic solution. It's a personal choice that should be made with careful consideration and realistic expectations.
I couldn't agree more. It's important to approach these procedures with a balanced and thoughtful mindset.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Well,
And as always, I like to leave our listener with a final thought, something to ponder as they continue to explore this topic.
I always appreciate that final thought.
So to our listener,
Yeah.
as you learn more about Asian eyelid surgery, I encourage you to really think critically about the messages you're encountering, both positive and negative. Question the assumptions, challenge the norms, and just remember that true beauty really lies in embracing your individuality
Yes.
and feeling confident in your own skin.
Beautifully said. That's such a powerful message to carry forward.
We were just talking about the ethics, surrounding all of this.
Right.
And I think it's just so important to remember that even though Asian eyelid surgery, like any cosmetic surgery, can be really empowering for some,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like this magic fix-all solution.
Yeah. It's not going to suddenly solve all of your problems or transform you into a completely different person.
Right.
It's so important to go into it with realistic expectations
Right.
and a balanced perspective.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that beauty is not one size fits all.
Of course not.
What one person finds beautiful, another person might not.
Mm-hmm.
It's about embracing what makes you unique.
It really is. It's about what makes you feel confident and comfortable in your own skin.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep thinking about the future of this whole field.
Yeah.
It's exciting to think about, what might be next for Asian eyelid surgery and just cosmetic surgery in general.
It is. We've already talked about this kind of exciting cultural exchange that's happening between Eastern and Western ideals.
Right.
And I think that's only going to continue. I think we're going to see even more innovation and personalization in the years to come.
Especially with all the new techniques and technologies emerging all the time.
It's a dynamic field, for
Yeah.
sure. And with so much information out there, it's more important than ever for people to do their research
Absolutely.
and to really stay informed.
So if you're considering Asian eyelid surgery or any cosmetic procedure, really,
Mm-hmm.
do your research. Talk to qualified professionals.
Yeah.
Make sure you feel empowered throughout the entire process.
It's your body. It's your choice. Make sure you're making a decision that feels right for you, based on careful consideration and realistic expectations.
Well said. I think we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've really gone through, the history, the different techniques, the cultural influences,
Mm-hmm.
even what the future might hold.
It's a lot. It's a topic that I think can be easily misunderstood.
Yeah,
And so I'm really glad we had the chance to kind of unpack it and really explore it in depth.
me too. And I hope our listener has walked away with, a deeper understanding of this procedure.
I think so.
It's complex. It's fascinating. There are a lot of different angles to consider.
Definitely.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into Asian eyelid surgery.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today. And until next time, keep those minds curious.
And keep diving deep.